Zachary, thoughts on the writer's strike? How many 2024 movies do you think will be affected by it? I haven't done a deep dive into it to be able to give a particularly well-researched one on all the nuances of it, but it kind of boils down to simplistic terms, making sure writers are being compensated properly for streaming shows. And what ends up happening is technology is always ahead of the law. The last major writer's strike was 15 years ago. When did Netflix, as we know it now as a streaming service, launch? But around 2010, after the writer's strike. So they haven't had any significant updates to their negotiations and everything to make sure they're being properly compensated for technology that now dominates how things work. And I've heard people say like, oh, these whiny writers, they're no good anyway, or these whiny writers, they get paid enough. Like, well, do they? Like, all the work that writers have to do that they don't get paid for, like they have to pitch to get projects. So they go in and they have to do all this research, write things, pitch it just to get the work. They do work to get work. And you, of course, have the people, you hear the stories of people selling a script for $1 million or whatever, but those are the exception. Most writers aren't making nearly that. And the model for how they get compensated very much goes back to getting paid for residuals when things play in syndication, when they run on television or via streaming. If you don't have adequate rules set so people are compensated for streaming, then you're cheating them out of a huge chunk of what they should earn. And even the people that are like, oh, these writers they make enough money as is. Like, what? So you think that the CEO doesn't make enough money? You think that Warner Brothers isn't making enough money? It's not like I get the money or you get the money if the writers not getting paid. This is a dispute between gigantic studios and their CEOs and writers, many of whom don't actually make that much money considering the cost of living in places like LA. So it's that sort of stuff. I tend to side with the writers on these kinds of things because they're just trying to push to get rulings caught up with where technology is at, where the actual industry is at. And their big mechanism is strikes. How many movies do you think will be affected by it? It's impossible to know because I don't know how long it's going to last. Like when you talk about movies from 2000, TV shows and movies from 2007, 2008, there's a lot of things in there from a whole stretch of a year where there's a year gap in filming of TV shows, movies where they rushed in to get the draft in on time. I think Quantum of Solace is a prime example of that, where the WGA writer rushes in a script and then to finish it, Daniel Craig is like rewriting scenes on the spot. There's a lot of that stuff that went down then. And so you'd expect the same thing to happen now if it stretches out. How many movies? I don't know. The turnaround to get movies made is a long process, to where you're writing the script 2 years before the movie comes out because you have to shoot it a year or so before the movie comes out. So a lot of those scripts are done. You end up having, like, you can't have the writers on set to do rewrites and things like that. But if it lasts for a month or two, it'll end up having major ramifications. Most of these clips are pulled from my weekly Patreon live stream. Join at any level and you can join the chat and ask all the questions you want. That's for as little as $2 per month. For $5 per month, you can get your name on my end card. For $25 per month, you can have a monthly video chat with me. Link is in the description for more details, and keep talking movies and TV too much.